What up, fellas? Welcome back. We're out in the shop today. We're getting on the belly project today. This has been a project that we've had sitting by the shop for a very long time. This is my girlfriend's 1960 Bel Air with a 235 straight six. We got it probably 5 or 6 years ago. It's been a while. We've had this thing for a while. We drove it for a couple summers, and then I ended up changing out the front end. I put some disc brakes on it, tubular upper and lower control arms and stuff in the front. We drove it a little bit after that. It was great. But it was one of them things that in the back of my head, I always thought to myself, man, this thing has a single pop master cylinder on it. And if one of these old lines breaks, it's going to be bad, man. We're going to lose all the brakes. So then it got kind of like, we maybe probably shouldn't drive this thing as much as we did. And then it just got parked and we just let it set and set and set. I've cleaned the carburetor a couple times, started it up every summer, periodically throughout the winter and stuff. And I've had a motor built for this thing for I think 2 years now. What we've got for this thing is a completely stock 4.8 junkyard dog build, no fancy parts inside of it. We reused pretty much everything from a bunch of different motors to put this motor together. We didn't even go through the cylinder heads. The cylinder heads were pretty raunchy. This more than likely is gonna be a temporary engine. I doubt this engine will stay in this car very long because I'm not sure it will run very long. But it was what I had at the time. It's already together. It's what we're gonna use for this thing. And then we've got the Turbo 350 lockup transmission out of the Elco project that we're gonna throw in this thing. Mainly what we gotta do right now, we just gotta get this thing pulled out. We got to pull out this old straight six. I've got the antifreeze getting drained out of it right now. I'm gonna start pulling hoses and stuff off of it, just kind of chipping through this. We're gonna cut the old exhaust off. That'll be easy. Cut it off, get it out of the way. And then once I get this 235 and the Power Glide out, probably gonna put it on a pallet. It's probably gonna go somewhere to get out of the way. We'll end up putting the wheels and tires back on the car, rolling it outside, and getting everything cleaned up underneath the hood. Pressure washed, degreased, all this. All the core support stuff, I think we're gonna go and repaint all that stuff. The inner fenders, we're gonna repaint all that stuff. I might even repaint the firewall. Just make everything nice and shiny and clean underneath the hood. But we got our motor mounts in a few days ago for the LS swap. We've got the transmission. More than likely, we're gonna mock it up in the car, make sure everything's good, kind of get it fitted where it needs to go, measure for drive shaft, see if we've got something laying around that maybe we've got that we can use in this thing or not. But anyways, enough rambling. I'm gonna start yanking this motor out. Maybe we can get the LS test fit in this thing pretty quick. Okay, so I got underneath the car, got the drive shaft out, and it's this little bitty one with the carrier bearing in it. And I just so happened, I was like, I wonder what the length difference is against the Elco drive shaft. And they're almost identical in length. It'd be cool if the 4.8 and the Turbo 350 land and they're in the same spot to where I could use this drive shaft, and I'd probably just have to change and put a conversion joint in the back, because it looks like the back's got a 1310 in it, or smaller, hell, I don't know, but it's smaller than the one that's in the Elco, and the Elco kind of looks like a 1350. So, or if it doesn't work that way and I have to put the drive shaft with the carrier back in it, I'll probably end up taking the yoke off this and swapping it over to the Bel Air drive shaft, and then putting a conversion joint up front, because the splines on the old Power Glide are way different than the splines on the 350. Anyways, we got that out. I've got the bolts out of the trans mount, bolts out of the motor mount. The only thing I got to undo now that I'm pretty sure of, or that I've got left, is the shift linkage. That's it. So I need to crawl underneath the other side of the car on the driver's side, pull the pin out, and then the shift linkage is out. All the wires are disconnected, and we should be able to hook a chain to this thing and try and yank it out. So I'm gonna do that real quick and get this linkage out and try and hook this cherry picker up to it. All right, well, we got the 235 and the Power Glide out of this thing. Boy, that thing is a heavy unit. I did the math, and this thing weighs roughly 900 pounds. This motor and stuff here weighs almost as much, or about half as much, as a Honda Civic. But we got it out, and I no sooner got it out, I had it on Marketplace for the last couple weeks. Didn't really have any takers on it, but after being on Marketplace for a week, and then literally it was like the universe was like, you got to get rid of this thing. You got to get it out of your way. So I pulled it, went inside, sat down to eat dinner, and grabbed my phone, looked at Facebook, and I had some young feller reach out to me and tell me he wanted to buy this thing. So he's going to come and pick it up this morning. So I got it ready for him to load up. And then we've got the 4.8 back here. So this is a Junkyard Dog 4.8 that we built a couple years ago. It's literally been sitting on a stand. The heads are not the best. They were a little leaky. They needed valves probably put in it, but we lapped them in, cleaned them up, put them on this fresh motor. It's got a nice swap pan and stuff on it. This one we did put on the run stand and fire up. As you can tell, the exhaust ports have some soot in them. So we were able to fire it up. It sounded good, had good oil pressure. Yeah, I think this is gonna be a great little engine for this car. Like I said, I don't know how long this is gonna stay in it. It is completely stock, other than I put China head studs on it, you know, because race car. It has a very nice Edelbrock intake with some not Edelbrock fuel rails. You're gonna have to sort that out, making those work, because they've got some kind of hodgepodge bracket made, so we may have to sort something out there, see if we can get that to work a little bit better somehow or another. This motor has a LS2 4519 camshaft in it, so a little bit bigger than a stock cam, so it's gonna have a little pep to it. Won't be super lazy, but we're gonna put it behind this Turbo 350. I've got to modify the flex plate, so the LS flex plate will bolt to the old school bolt pattern here. As soon as this gets picked up, I'm gonna use the cherry picker. We'll get it picked up. We'll put the flex plate and stuff on it and try and get it bolted together. That way they don't have to come back apart. But then we're gonna try and set them down in the car, see kind of motor placement, see where everything's at, figure out if we're gonna have to do a drive shaft and stuff. Obviously, it's all gonna have to come back out because all this needs to be pressure washed again. And I may pressure wash it first. But I'm getting really antsy to test fit it in the car. That's what today's gonna be. We're gonna try and get this thing down in the car and test fit after we get it pressure washed, I guess. And then after I get this kind of sorted out and get them bolted together and whatnot. So anyways, oh yeah, and then we got Amazon motor mounts. Those showed up and I kind of half assembled them because there was a ton of little pieces, but these are, ow, break my finger, ow. Get the plates and stuff bolted to the motor, and that way we can get around to trying to set this in the car. So anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling, and like I said, we'll get this loaded up in the guy's truck when he gets here, and yeah, let's get to it. All right, so we're working on the Bel Air project, getting the motor ready, getting motor mounts and stuff put on it, getting ready to test fit it in the car. Obviously, we've got to pressure wash the engine bay and do all those things. I'm gonna pull the inner fenders out of it, but I've noticed that in the process of trying to pull the inner fenders out of this, all the bolts have stripped. So I'm gonna have to do a bunch of cutting because there's a ton of bolts that hold these inner fenders in. And you gotta pull the grill and stuff off to get in there to get bolts and stuff out. Huge pain in the butt. So I'm working on trying to get that done, kind of tinkering with the motor, getting the flex plate situation sorted out, and figuring out which flex plate I need to bolt to the Turbo 350. I've got that sorted out. So I'm just working on trying to get these inner fenders and stuff out. That way we can get the car outside, pressure washed and everything, and kind of see where we're at with it. I may end up going ahead and just trying to test fit the motor because more likely it's gonna have to come out anyways to like modify things and do things. Anyways, let's try and get this motor bolted up to the transmission, and we'll see if we can get it test fit in the car. All right, well, I was trying to work on these inner fenders. It just does not seem like we're gonna be able to get these out. The inner fenders are pretty rotten on this thing. And as you can see up there, but there's bolts up there you gotta get these headlight buckets out off this piece right here. And as you can see, it's all rusted out. There's a nut bolt right there that needs to come out to be able to get to the lower bolts that come up through the bottom, to be able to get the grill out, to be able to get to these back two bolts that are back here. And then like you've got these for the inner fender that are all rotten here. I don't think I have it in me to mess with all this, because I feel like once I get it apart, nothing's gonna go back together without buying a bunch of new parts. I don't know if I can find a new core support, a new set of inner fenders. This pocket, I mean, the fenders are rotten up here, so the bolts that are there aren't gonna come out. Like, it's bad, guys. Like, I don't know. I mean, look, this is right here. That's like an upper mount for this header panel here, and both sides, I mean, they're rotten out, like they're gone. So I go to pull those out, it's just gonna tear this panel apart. So we may end up having to just do some kind of backyard boogie deal where we tape off the upper parts of the fenders, tape around these, tape around the grill, and then just kind of scuff it and give it some fresh paint on the core support and stuff up top, what you see. Obviously we're going to pressure wash the frame and all this stuff, try and get all this grit and grime off. I want to clean up and paint the firewall. I don't know, because everything is so rusted together on this thing that it's just going to be like all these bolts. There's nuts on the back sides of the fenders. You can see where I tried to heat up the backside of one and torch the paint. So that's kind of a bummer. But I'm gonna have to put these in and go back and put nuts on the backside. These ones were there, but I'm probably not gonna be able to get really tight with those. So I'm just gonna try and finger tight those. But yeah, it's not looking good. I went through and got the headlights out and was trying to pull these out. Well, there's 2 bolts down here that come through this lower panel here in through this like low beam headlight bracket assembly. Once you take those 2 out, like this will come out, but you can't get to them because they're back here. So then you have to take this panel off, but to take this panel off, you got to pull the bumper off. But man, they did not make these things to be worked on, like by the average person. I mean, I can't imagine going to the dealership and having them back in the day, if they wrecked this, like how much of a pain, which granted the bolts would have came out back then. They're not all rusty and stuff, but like, man, this is just a headache. So I think, as much as I don't want to do this, I think I'm just going to leave it how it is. If the engine bay doesn't get cleaned up like I want it to be, I mean, it is what it is. It's just a driver. It's not a show car. I would love the engine bay to look a lot better, but I don't have the time or the money to spend on cutting all this stuff off and then probably having to replace it. And then all the aftermarket stuff's probably going to be garbage anyways. I don't know. I need to look into some of that stuff, I guess, and see kind of what it looks like. But it's not looking like we're going to be able to pull this front end apart like I wanted to. So we may end up just trying to pressure wash, clean it up, hit it with a little paint underneath there without pulling it apart, which I hate doing. I think it looks stupid. Maybe we just leave it like it is and just drop this nice clean motor down inside of it and just, it is what it is. Anyways, I guess I'm gonna lift the motor up, bolt it to the transmission, try and set it down in the car, kind of see what it looks like as far as where it's gonna sit. I got a transmission mount coming tomorrow for it, a couple bolts for the flex plate adapter. It's not gonna keep us from bolting the motor to the transmission and test fitting it. So let's get that done real quick. All right, well, we're getting her down in there and our pan's hitting the cross member and our motor mounts are as far forward as they will go. So they're not gonna line up. I thought about maybe trying to flip these from left to right and right to left. That bracket, like the tab kind of points this direction. So if I flip it on that side, then it'll sit more towards the rear rather than towards the front. We'll pop those out and then hopefully that'll get the motor back a little bit further, and our transmission cross member isn't lining up to the transmission mount location on the Turbo 350, so we may have to custom make a trans cross member. But my main thing is I want to get these mounts swapped out, flip those around from left to right and right to left, and see if it'll get us a little bit more room towards the firewall. Because I mean, even right now, like there's a ton of room there. You could pull every bell housing bolt out of this thing. So it needs to go back, honestly, probably another 2 or 3 inches. The mount will probably give us, or the bracket flopping them may give us 1 inch to 2 inch maybe forward or more backwards. Like I said, we'll have to lift the motor up, try and see if we can pop these out and swap them without having to pull the motor and transmission back out, because it is a pain with the core support in it. Try and swap those out real quick and see where that leads us. All right, so we're back out in the shop. It's the next day and I worked on it late last night, really fought to get this thing to sit down in there. And we had talked about maybe trying to flip the stock mounts from side to side. That won't work because the bolt location did not line up, and it ended up like one mount hung off the back of it. But when I got these mounts off, I realized the eBay ones that I thought were not going to work, there was an extra hole underneath the stock mount and they did line up, they did bolt in. So we got it set down in there, or attempted to set it down in there, and we still just couldn't get it far enough back it kept hitting the pan. So the only thing I could think to do at that point was take the bracket and the motor mount itself that bolts to the engine and flip it around, because from what they say, the adjustable brackets that go on the motor are meant to give you like 3.5 inches forward and a 1/2 inch back. Well, we had it backed all the way back and it still would not sit where we wanted to. We were coming up short on the trans cross member, so I was pretty well thinking we were gonna have to build a trans cross member, which just really sucked. But then I thought to myself, what if I flip them around and give myself 3.5 inches backwards and then a 1/2 inch forward? So I flipped the brackets, but by doing that, as you can tell, that mount is really far forward now, which is fine. I mean, it just is what it is. I don't have these bolted down, but all the holes lined up. I still got to get underneath them and tighten them. I just wanted to be able to sit the motor down in it. It does appear that my intake might be a little tall. When I put these together, I added this spacer. They come with a spacer for oil pan clearance. But now that we've got the motor sitting where it wants to be, we have plenty of oil pan clearance. So I can take these out, still have oil pan clearance, and it'll give me a little bit more room for the intake. And then I think I'm actually gonna cut this off right here and smooth this out, because we're gonna use the 4-bolt and not the 3-bolt style, and that'll give me a little bit more room there. Everything clears. We may even try and use these old oil cooler lines or tranny cooler lines for the Turbo 350 off the El Camino. But with the motor being right where it's at, we've got room between the cylinder head and the firewall. I mean, you can get back there and mess with cam sensor, oil sending unit, and all that. But the good thing is, with moving the motor back where it was, we were able to get the bolts in our transmission cross member. So everything there is gonna work out good. My next thing I wanna do is I wanna attempt to check the drive shaft length. This thing is not going to make a ton of power, so I think my plan is, if the length is right, I'm still going to try and use the stock one. That's a really small drive shaft, but we will end up trying to switch out the yokes. So we'll have the 350 yoke on there. The length of the yoke and everything's the same. Now that we've got it set in there, I can go through and we can work on trying to test fit things. I want to get a brake booster kit for this, or a power brake kit for this. So I got to do some measurements and see if we can even fit a booster on it or not, or if we're just gonna have to stay manual brakes. If we do manual brakes, we'll have finishing lines whip us up some brake lines, and we'll try and convert this from the single pot where it all tees. We'll cap it off, build some new lines pretty much from here forward for the rear brakes, but the front brakes lines we'll probably tee in. There's a T right there, or a union right there. We'll try and splice into that, make a new line up, try and keep it as simple as possible. Anyways, we got it in there. It fits. It doesn't hit anything. We've got room to put our grounds on the back of the stuff. Doesn't hit the wiper motor, none of that. So I think that location will work, and it's going to give us plenty of room up front for a nice big radiator. If for some reason we ever wanted to put a turbo on this thing, we'll have tons of room for that. And then like AC, power steering eventually, all that stuff. We need some space for that. Definitely got enough space in here for the accessories. I'm pretty jazzed up about this. This thing's gonna be a super cool cruiser. I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna try and put the wheels on it. I wanna set it down on the wheel cribs and kind of see, cause we cut like 200 pounds off the nose of this thing with this motor and transmission setup over the old cast iron stuff. Might even been more than 200 pounds. I wanna put the wheels and stuff on it and get it set down on the cribs and see how much lower the front end doesn't sit versus what it used to sit like. Anyways, that's gonna do it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. This project's gonna be really cool, I think. We obviously still have fuel system stuff to do. I still wanna clean up the firewall, maybe paint the firewall. I don't know if we're gonna paint the inner fenders or not, but we've still gotta do some stuff there. Obviously wiring for the ECU. We've got an engine management system that we're gonna put on it. It's not a Holley system, so we'll have wiring and stuff coming up for that. And then obviously the motor's still gotta come back out. We've gotta button all that back together, get our converter spacing and everything set up. Lots of little odds and ends to do, but huge progress today of getting this thing dropped down in the car, and it fits, it clears. Man, I can't wait. But like I said, thanks for watching, guys. Keep following along, comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.